Hello, everyone. For those of you on that I have not met today, my name is Shannon Bell, and I am the Executive Director of the Executive MBA programs here at UCLA Anderson. So I'm so excited to welcome you today for our regional panel with alumni and students. We're focused today on the Northern California region. So this is actually the fourth event we've done in these regional panels. And a big reason that we've done these is because UCLA's Executive MBA program brings students from far beyond the Los Angeles region. In fact, you'll see later with some of our data, only about half of our students live in Los Angeles. So we really wanted to give you, the prospective student, the opportunity to hear from alumni and students who chose UCLA for their MBA and who live outside of the SoCal region. So definitely the majority of today's event is actually going to be featuring some of our incredible alumni and students from the region. But I do want to make sure that we, beforehand, go ahead and just give you a little bit of background about the program, as well as just a little bit about our differentiators and why people would choose the UCLA program potentially over other programs that might be more local to them. And I do want to let you know today's, as I said, my session is going to be very, very brief. If you want more full information about the program, I would recommend definitely we'll send you after this. Our 30-minute on-demand webinar is a great thing to attend, as well as we have some great virtual events coming up. Our virtual Dean's Preview, which will give a very thorough overview of the program from our Dean, is on January 17th. And then if you are able to come visit the campus, we are doing our next really cool campus experience event on March 2nd. So just keep an eye on these dates if those work for you. Switching over to the next slide, I would love to introduce you to each of our members of our EMBA admissions team. Hopefully everyone's on the call today, but hopefully if you have not yet met with us, please, we are very accessible to you through the admissions process. We can help give you review of your candidacy. We can help answer any questions you have, connect you with any resources. So you will, again, after this session, get follow-ups on how to set up a one-on-one, or you can attend a live small group Q&A. So we really look forward to connecting with you and helping you through this process. Next slide. Great. So at UCLA Anderson, we actually offer two distinct executive MBA programs. We've got the UCLA Executive MBA program, and this is our Los Angeles-based program. This will be the one we do primarily speak of today and who our alumni and students are from. But I like to mention that we also have a dual degree global executive MBA program. It's in partnership with National University of Singapore, which is a top Asian business school. And it's a great option if you feel like you would benefit from having an Asia Pacific plus US focused curriculum and network. Our admissions team actually recruits for both of these programs. So again, if you set up time with us, we can discuss that, because both programs have a very similar student profile. A minimum of 8 years of work experience, with the average being more like 15, and a minimum of 5 years of management responsibility, with the average being more like 9 or 10. So I do just want to point out that our management experience, in case you're listening and thinking, well, does that mean only people management? Our definition of management goes far beyond that to also managing projects and budgets. So definitely, as I said, if you're unsure which program might be a good fit for you and to reach your goals, always feel free to set up time with you and we can discuss that. Next slide. Great. So I just do want to review, especially for those people traveling from outside the region. It's very important, I'm sure, as you're considering this, about how you think about our schedule options and how flexible will this be. This time is one of the main questions people ask us about as a prospective student. How will I fit this in with my personal commitments and my professional commitments as well? So for our traditional UCLA EMBA program, we have 3 schedule options, and hopefully one of these would work for you. In quick summary, the bi-weekly is every other weekend. It's the more traditional Friday night, Saturday on campus, every other weekend. Our monthly and blended allow you to only have to come to campus 1 weekend a month, so 3 weekends per quarter, still Friday night and Saturday. The blended option actually follows a similar schedule to the biweekly, where you have class every other weekend, but you're alternating between on campus in person and 2 weeks later, you're on Zoom. And the important thing to note about that one is all of your classmates are on Zoom. So you're not Zooming into the biweekly class. The professor is actually accommodating a Zoom-only classroom that day, and that's your classmates who are best for that environment. The monthly allows the most flexibility because you're coming to campus once a month, and instead of the biweekly and blendeds who meet 2 weeks later in person or live on Zoom, you have on-demand videos that you're catching up with to follow on that lecture content. And they are filmed in a studio meant for remote viewing. None of these programs, I would say, are fully online. All of them allow with you to develop really strong networks, and you're going to hear that from our alumni today as well. The UCLA and US program is a more unique schedule that actually has you traveling all over the world, you can see, in these once a quarter. So again, if that is of interest to you, happy to talk through those options as well. Next slide. So just to ground you in some data about where our students do come from. So as I said, only about half in Los Angeles. And then for Northern California, you can see that it's about 8%. Just to give you an idea of how many students that is, it's around 25 students in our current EMBA students that come from the Northern California region. And then you can see we get quite a few from out of state as well, and even some from outside the US that are able to accommodate due to these schedules. And then next slide. So finally, before we jump into the panel, I just wanted to ground you. And again, you might hear this from the panelists themselves, but I'll just highlight what the admissions teams hears frequently as to why Anderson compared to maybe other business schools. First would be the cohort. So as you may have done in some of your research, the cohort is such an important part of an EMBA program. You are going to learn probably just as much from your classmates as you learn from your professors. And what's really unique about UCLA Anderson is that we're not dominant in one or two industries. We actually really cap any one industry and function at around 15%. And the way that we create our study teams, who you'll intimately work on projects and reviewing cases, is we actually make sure that nobody comes from your industry or your function. We call it our mini board model, and it really allows you to make sure that you are learning about how do I cross-functionally influence? How do I work with these diverse teams? I'm sure as you grow in leadership, this becomes more and more important in your skill set. So that's a big differentiator for us. Northern California, we love our sister school up there, Berkeley Haas, as well as some of the other great programs up there, but we know that they, are more dominant in the tech industry. So that's something to consider. Next is the ability to customize your MBA. So definitely, we believe very strongly that electives are a big portion of this program, and making sure that you can choose electives that are going to help support more of the generalist MBA curriculum. And we offer a lot of different ways to specialize in different specialties like finance, global management, tech management, entrepreneurship. So these are some of our popular focuses if you choose to focus, or you can just cherry pick across our electives. Speaking to that, our entrepreneurship offering is especially unique. I think us and MIT may be the only schools, kind of nationwide top schools, that offer a focus in entrepreneurship. So if this is of interest to you, we have a really wonderful curriculum for this. And not only that, we have a master's thesis option. So many schools you may be looking at offer a consulting project, which that's something we offer if you want to do a consulting project for a real world company. But we do an alternative that's called our business creation program if you're interested in what it would be like to go through the exercise of launching a company. And 45% of our students choose this option. Even if they're not planning on quitting their corporate jobs, they feel that it's really beneficial to understand how you start from something from scratch and scale it. Finally, I would say our global brand and recognition, and just that we are, UCLA is, no matter whether you are working here in the US or traveling abroad, people are definitely going to know and value the UCLA brand. We are one of the top EMBA programs, and we just have truly a global alumni network, in addition to a lot of incredible global opportunities when you come as a student here. So I hope that helps you. And again, you'll hear more from our panelists on that. So I'd love to pass it now to my colleague, Debbie Quigley, who many of you may know from talking with her. She's a key part of the admissions team, and she is going to go ahead and host our incredible panelists for today. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shannon. And I'm so excited to host the panel today and get to know them and share their stories with you. So I'm Debbie Quigley, as Shannon mentioned, and I'd love to welcome our panel today. And just to get a little sense of what we're going to share today, each of the panelists are going to introduce themselves, give you a little bit of background on their personal, professional lives, where they traveled from in Northern California, and really their journey regarding the Executive MBA. Why did they choose to get an MBA? Why did they choose UCLA given they were going to travel? And how did that work in their schedules? And finally, I would love to hear about their experience and sort of their takeaways. Was there a big learning outcome or a transformation in their career and their life and so forth? So we do have one current student, and the rest are alumni, and we're so excited to talk to them. And I'd like to kick it off with welcoming Jay. Jay, thanks for joining us. And yeah, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Zelenkov. I'm a class of 2024, so I'm the current student. I'm really excited to greet you and share my experience with you. As kind of mentioned, I currently, so fun fact, I actually started this program while living in the Bay Area, commuting bi-weekly, and I then now switched to live in LA full time. So I'm still bi-weekly, but I guess I got so excited about the Bay Area, about the LA and the sun, that I decided to move. So a little bit of my background. I currently work at Google, and it's kind of like a tech role, and I always knew that I would be working in tech. I saw my first computer when I was like 13 years old, and I started coding. I fell in love with it. I knew it was in Estonia, tiny country in Eastern Europe. I knew that I would be working in software industry. I just didn't know where and in what capacity. So I studied in Germany, and then I worked in Germany, different companies, startups, big companies, tech, non-tech. Eventually made my way to the US, worked in a startup before, and it was fun for 1.5 years, and then we ran out of money, and I needed to get a more stable job, and I landed at Google. And ever since I started at Google, I always wanted to try to do another startup. But that experience of, the previous one of being there for 1.5 years and running out of money was kind of painful. So I was thinking, how can I learn and do startups while not feeling all that risk? So that's kind of where the idea of maybe getting a little bit more experience and knowledge came to mind. So MBA was my stepping stone on doing another startup, but maybe preparing myself a little bit more, getting that knowledge, getting that experience, getting those connections. So I actually was considering, as many maybe of you who live in the Bay Area, Haas versus UCLA. And for me, the biggest selling point of UCLA was what Shannon already mentioned, is the BCP idea. That means that when I saw that, I was like, sold. That means essentially that I can do business creation option while still being a student. So that's like the best of both worlds. I'm creating a startup in a safety of UCLA. I'm practicing the concepts that I learned while I'm still a student, and I don't need to quit my cushy tech job. So to me, that was like easy. So that's like the main reason why I decided to do the UCLA, and traveling was worth it. And the reason I picked biweekly, so that I can get to know as many people as I possibly can. The other thing that I would say about the network is I meet a lot of people in the Bay Area who are from Bay Area. So the Haas people, the Stanford people. I deliberately wanted to meet people who are not from the Bay Area. So it's a way to expand my network. It's a little bit like in the Bay, it felt like, especially being in the tech bubble, there's like a lot of diversity of culture, but there's not as much of diversity of thought. People think very similarly, like, oh yeah, we all work in tech, we think alike. And coming to LA, I felt like, oh my God, there is also diversity of culture, but there's also diversity of thought, at least in that's different than my tech worldview. So I was really excited about this aspect of the network. Yeah, and I'm really excited about this journey so far. I am graduating in 6 months. Um, it Time really flies. Happy to answer any questions about traveling. Well, maybe to say two things. One is Alaska Flight Pass was a really amazing offer. So for $99 a month, you get one round trip flight from Bay Area to LA, and that was perfect. And you also get points, so you can buy your second flight if you're doing biweekly, purely on points alone. And the final thing that I'll say, if you're still considering or still unsure, attend alumni events. Alumni events, you can attend them even as not alumni or not a student, just like a visitor. And they, in my experience, were amazing. Especially in the Bay Area events are really top. So if you get a chance to attend somebody, if you know somebody, they can invite you. Just show up and see the people, see the UCLA students or past students. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I should have mentioned before, we'll definitely have a question time at the end, but if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to drop it in the chat and stand and jump in if I don't see it. But thank you, Jay, and thank you for noting that information about the alumni groups. You know, those are worldwide, right? I know you guys have a very strong, or probably several groups up in the Northern California area, so thanks for sharing that too. So let's go on to Sheila now. Welcome, Sheila.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see you all. Jay, congrats. You're almost there. I'm so excited for you. This is the hardest push, but you can do it. So I am Sheila Azadan. I'm based in San Francisco. I'm a Bay Area native, born and raised, but spent about 10 years in New York City and Manhattan before coming back to San Francisco about 5 years ago. My career background is somewhat quote unquote non-traditional, but I'm rebranding that to diverse. So it's mostly in marketing and advertising, with a large focus of that having been in the agency world. And part of what inspired my quest to join an MBA program was that I wanted to stack the deck in my favor in terms of moving from the agency side to the in-house marketing side. And I found that when I was trying to make that transition before the opportunity that I ended up pursuing before the MBA, it was getting increasingly difficult as I was becoming more tenured in my agency career. It was not necessarily an apples to apples jump for in-house marketing and advertising. So I joined the UCLA program largely because similar to Jay, I wanted a bit more diversity of network and thought and experience in the cohort that I was joining. Cal's Exec MBA program is fantastic, but I believe it's about 90 students. Our class was close to 200. So there's a lot just more, again, networking opportunity and individuals to learn from with a cohort of that size, but yet you still have the intimate experience of the unique class, each classes being about 60 some odd students. So it was a nice marriage of both for me. And then I also found that the individuals that I spoke with as I was doing some discovery around programs, that everyone that I spoke with who had graduated from UCLA, whether it was an exec MBA or a traditional MBA, had a lot of humility and approachability, and they were really smart and driven individuals who were accomplished in their career, but also were just lovely people and easy to talk to. And that's just become increasingly important for me and how I lead my life. So I decided on UCLA. In terms of program, I did bi-weekly blended. So in town in LA once a month. Did not know the pro tip about Alaska. So bookmark that if you decide to move forward. And used a lot of Southwest flights. So in town once a month and then on Zoom once a month. I know being on Zoom for an entire weekend sounds particularly daunting, but it actually was a really nice way for me to keep myself accountable to coursework. You will have a lot of reading and projects and ancillary work to do. And it was nice to have a touch point in the middle of the month for me personally, not only to connect with classmates and have a different type of dialogue with our cohort, but also, again, just keep the momentum going on all the work that you need to accomplish. And then also having that in-person connectivity was really, really important for me too. So East Coast schools and just in terms of travel schedule and work weren't an option. And then, so what I have found to be the most surprising, of course, is you go in, at least for me, I went in expecting to really double down on marketing toolkit and skills to, again, bolster that candidacy for an in-house role. And what I found as I went through the program was that I was leaning towards developing other skill sets and being more interested in rounding out my toolkit just as a business leader overall, to the point where I have been fortunate enough to convert to LinkedIn. I'm working now as a marketing manager at LinkedIn full time, and that has been a wonderful experience. However, the MBA has a really unique way of opening your eyes and your aperture to what you're capable of. It's giving me a lot more confidence in what I'm able to do, both from a business and personal standpoint. It becomes a lesson in ruthless prioritization in your life, because there is a lot of work to manage, but it is really rewarding as well. And so now, as I look to this next step of my career, I think prioritizing just overall trajectory and capacity and potential is what's kind of my next step and goal. What that translates to remains to be seen. I'm starting to consider options outside of marketing, potentially operations, chief of staff roles, things like that. But I think what it really did, again, was just solidify some skill sets that I already have and just rounded out that broader toolkit from both hard and soft skills.
Thank you, Sheila. That's amazing. Thank you for mentioning the community and the support that I think we all feel here at Anderson, not only when you're a student, hopefully, Jay, you still feel that as co-president this year, but also as an alumni and a recent alumni. So congrats, Sheila. Thanks so much. So let's move on to Meg now, Meg Chan, also a 23 grad. Would love to hear about your story.
Hi, everyone. This is Meg Chan. I'm currently living in the Bay Area. So my current job is the head of internal audit at Solidigm, which is a giant semiconductor startup based in the Bay Area and Northern California. So, but previous to that, to this, I work in some other tech industries also with similar roles. And before that, I was at Deloitte Advisory for 12 years, working on audit and consulting projects for my clients in different industries. So CPA and auditor in nature, but very, very passionate about business strategy and operations in general, very enthusiastic about tech industry, especially. And I really love building and growing startups to help it achieve exit goals. So that's my professional background. Personally, I'm a mom of 2 young children. It sounds like a mission impossible actually to study for MBA degree while raising a young family and working for a startup job. However, I did it. I was able to do it because Anderson really gave me the opportunity and the support and flexibility that I could make it all happen. So why UCLA? So I definitely can resonate a lot with what Sheila and Jay just mentioned about diversity and humanity of the program. I actually personally attended, I think, 2 to 3 workshops by Wharton, Haas, and Santa Clara University, and I had a very different feeling when I went to those workshops. But when I came to UCLA the first time, when I talked to Shannon, I feel very, very much welcomed, and I make my decision. This is a place I want to be. But besides of those areas, I think UCLA definitely put a lot of effort in this EMBA program. There are lots of networking events which I really love to go to, especially in the Bay Area. There are various study trips abroad, which opens for both current students and even alums, and a great alum class audit program, which I'm currently benefiting from. So it provides a great flexibility that I need as a working professional and mom raising young children. Comparing to other programs in the Bay Area, it offers me the right balance of life. Actually, the travel part, it sounds very daunting because I have children at home, and sometimes people ask me, how do you leave your children at home and be able to be, in a different location for the whole weekend? But actually, I really love this part. Many parents actually will probably appreciate what I'm gonna say, because being at home and closer to home sometimes may not give me the peaceful mind and focus on myself and the study. And being on campus is the only time I can really be myself and just be focused on my study and networking and do things very efficiently and get things done. And I really enjoyed it. And this is also the time I can really get a rest and sleep along, throughout the night. That's why I especially chose UCLA, although it is far from my home. I really like the travel part, and I actually was looking forward to that weekend on campus every month. So also, the professors at UCLA, I also did a lot of research before I joined, and the professors are actually world class, I have to say. A lot of them have very strong academic background, but also has a phenomenal professional background. They tend to be very practical when it comes to teaching topics and instructions, and which I can benefit directly, from the study and use it at work. The professors are also very accessible. Actually, I keep connection with all the professors, even graduate, and I went to some of their parties, holiday parties even. They're very welcome for you to, keep in touch with them and ask any questions, advices in life anytime, which I think is I call it the lifelong study experience, for UCLA, which it gives us, I think is super beneficial to all of the students and alums. So also as a professional with an audit background, I think Anderson gave me the opportunity to learn business holistically, and it really helped me to transition from the audit consulting firm to the tech industry. I was able to get a senior leadership position, in the tech industry while in the program. The education Anderson gave me really allowed me to hit the ground running immediately and make impacts. I also came across so many classmates and alums who are great resources to myself, especially to my career. Many have already achieved a lot in their career and business, and they're always very willing to share the experience with me, get on call with me. Doesn't matter whether it's weekend or it's late at night. So soon after I joined the Anderson family, I feel this is the most strongest, or the strongest actually supporting system I ever had to my career and my personal development. It really constantly gave me the support which I cannot imagine in the past, and most importantly, it gave me so much more confidence in life, and which has been empowering even today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Meg. That is just amazing to hear about your journey, and thanks for sharing as a mom and going through the program, and not only balancing the travel, but the childcare and all the fun stuff that comes with that. But that's really, I think, impactful, and having even made a transition within the program to a new position. So you packed a lot in those 2 years, I can see. So thanks for sharing that. And just as a reminder, if you guys have questions now, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll follow up in a couple minutes. But thanks again, Meg. And Kahlil Keys, I would love to invite you to join me now and share your journey as well. Kahlil is also a 23 grad coming from the Bay Area. Hello.
Yes, hello. Thank you all for joining. Great to meet you, Kahlil Keys. Again, EMBA 23. Originally a Bay Area native. I'm actually based in Sacramento now. Definitely a lot of parallels with my classmates and others that have been a part of the program. I spent close to 10 years in New York City. And, one will also say shameless plug. I'm with Bay FC. That's the professional women's soccer team that will be launching in the Bay in just under 70 days here. So for those in the Bay, we just opened up season tickets last week. So feel free to join that. We'd love to have you all at the venue. But yeah, for background, I'd say from a professional standpoint, I'd always been kind of seeking out a space in which I could be kind of at an emerging kind of organization where there was also opportunity to have resources and to be well backed and to have structure. So I had worked at Major League Baseball headquarters during a pretty transitional time, and worked in that capacity for 3 years. Then I worked at an organization called Legends, which is co-owned by the Dallas Cowboys and New York Yankees, primarily overseeing new stadium development projects. So helped kind of oversee the naming rights and founding partnerships for SoFi Stadium in LA, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. So I'd worked in kind of the new business development, partnerships capacity in that role. And then I actually was working in gaming and esports. And I started that role really at the height of the pandemic. And so there was obviously a ton of growth and excitement around that space. And I was working with an organization called Gen G at the time, and we had a big focus on inclusion and equity and impact within the space of gaming and bringing new audiences into the fold. And so that was a big passion point for me. And I think while I was in that role, just wanted to figure out how I could continue to work in a business and revenue generating capacity, but do impact oriented work. And I think being in a time where it was the start of the pandemic, I think myself and many others that I encountered who applied and, were part of the 23 cohort just started to think about what opportunities might be available and what the future could look like. And so MBA had always been on my radar, but didn't want to take 2 years out of the workforce. And so I think the executive program was something that was really appealing to me. I was also moving across the country, so was in New York, coming back to California. A lot of my professional network was in New York, so I was really excited about the potential of coming to UCLA. Had always been a dream school. Had the opportunity to connect with some alumni and people affiliated with the program, and I think I had similar sentiment and experiences and what those interactions were like, and just a really well-rounded, diverse, intelligent, thoughtful group of people that I encountered in that space. And so one of the things that was in my benefit at the time, my company, Gen G, was based in Santa Monica. And my CFO at the time was also an Anderson alum. So when I started to think about, participating in this program, I had a lot of internal support surrounding that initiative. And that was great to know that, participating in the monthly cohort, I would come in on the weekends and then I would extend my stays through Tuesday or Wednesday, and then the company would support that with travel. So that was one benefit that I think was really advantageous for me in the program. I was working in kind of a hybrid or remote capacity. So I also loved the opportunity to be in person, to interact with peers. That was something I had been missing coming out of the pandemic. So that was just some of the kind of pre-MBA kind of considerations. I'd say similar to many of the others, my experience there exceeded a lot of my expectations. I think I learned a lot. I think within sports, you're often kind of pigeonholed to a specific market because if you're working for a team or a league, there's only a handful of those properties. And so I was really excited about, the opportunity to diversify my skill set and experience, within that space. And I think the MBA definitely afforded me that opportunity. And one of the things that I think was really impactful for me during the time is I started to just learn about different opportunities and industries that could be available to me. And so I remember I was working a lot on youth education, STEM programming within the scope of gaming and esports while I was there, and in doing informal networking with an Anderson alum. He'd mentioned, hey, have you looked into impact investing? I think that could be a space that would really align with your interests and with your passions. And so that really started, an 18-month exploration of what that meant, what different types of companies and industries were available there, and where, my skill set could be transferable. And I'd say that the Anderson name helped tremendously. I'd go to conferences and there'd be people who went to Anderson or were affiliated with UCLA in some capacity. That was often my first kind of entry point for conversations. And so through that, I actually ended up securing an internship at a impact investment advisory firm called Avivar Capital. I believe there were 4 Anderson alum there. Was looking at that as a kind of full-time opportunity post-graduation. And then coincidentally, I had a former colleague reach out about an opportunity with BayFC in a leadership capacity. It was backed by a private equity firm that had provided the largest institutional investment in women's sports. So it checked a lot of boxes for me on a personal level. But I think in taking that position, I had the confidence and ability to know that I could step into that leadership position. And I think that was really beneficial for me in that regard. And so I think to this day, it's been really, again, helpful from a leadership standpoint, given me an understanding of the types of things that I could be capable of. And then just, again, maintaining those relationships, I think has been really valuable for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for also highlighting the importance of support of your current company while you were going through the program, and the opportunities and connections you made outside the classroom. So that is amazing, and thank you for sharing that journey with us, especially since you're not in tech in the Bay Area-ish, right? We're just curious, were you commuting from San Francisco or Santa Monica and then you moved, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I was commuting from Sacramento when I was in the program, and
Gotcha.
So I'd commute from Sacramento I'd come to campus, and then I'd go from campus to Santa Monica, which was not too difficult. So it ended up being pretty seamless for me, just as far as the transportation went.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great. Well, I'd love to open it up. Does anyone on the call here have questions?
I think Yana, Debbie. I think we got Yana. Yeah.
Sorry,
more.
Sorry, Yana. I can't see the whole screen. Yana, please welcome Yana Potashnik. She's a 22 grad, and I'm so sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Yana Potashnik, class of 22. I am based in Palo Alto, California, so about a 15-minute drive stroll outside of Stanford campus. Professionally, I've spent about 18 years in product innovation in tech industry, working for large companies, Microsoft, Samsung, Amazon, to name a few. And so I've always been kind of close to launching brand new innovative products, but always felt like I really want to do this on my own. I want to get the skill set to be an entrepreneur. And so when I was looking for business school, and just a quick plug, UCLA is, I went to undergrad, so it was close to hard for me. But at the same time, had our household was also a Haas household. So I was definitely looking for a place where I can build that skill set to feel comfortable jumping in and being an entrepreneur. Doing this in 2020 has its own set of adventures. But what I really appreciate is, very much the cohort that I was with. Everybody was very motivated to, really embrace the learning, embrace the creating community, that bonding, even before any classes started, we had events here in Bay Area, but with the students. So I really appreciated that. In terms of while at UCLA, I really wanted to make sure I was building up that entrepreneurship skill set, but also, how do I make myself a stronger leader? So also did marketing and tech management courses. In terms of kind of travel, class of 22 really had to kind of adjust as different regulations came into place. So I really appreciated the level of communication and partnership that was coming from UCLA, making sure they were balancing really what was safe for the students and what was best for us in terms of, getting quality education, getting an opportunity to partner with each other. I think the best thing is that I found were the mini groups. I'm amazed how they've been able to create those mini groups, because these are now my best friends. They have really through classes where we're not, I was not coming with that skill set. They were my support system, not just on the academic side, but kind of on the motivation side of it. We've and for me, a big part of coming to UCLA was, as Jay has mentioned, was that diversity of thought. 18 years in tech, my network is very tech heavy. If I really want to be talking to somebody in a certain tech company, I can find them through my network. I don't need to be paying, X amount of dollars to be in a classroom with them. I was very deliberate about, talking to people who are facing different leadership challenges in entertainment industry, in healthcare, in industries that I'm normally not exposed to. And what I really loved about the classes, as Shannon showed, it's not all LA based. We have people traveling from from Toronto, from Atlanta, from Peru, from China to be there in the class. And this really pushed my thinking. And as a result of the MBA, I think the very first class that I had was negotiations, and they asked us to take on a real life project. I used that project to negotiate a promotion with an Amazon. Ended up switching to a startup after kind of before graduation. And as tech industries go, went through a layoff and decided, hey, now is a perfect time for me to use the skill set that I got from Anderson and start my own thing. So that's what I'm up to now. And in terms of travel tips, I will actually share that, at least if you're traveling from I traveled from San Jose. I traveled into Burbank. It's a quick, small airport. It makes travel super easy. And so you got in and out, from the airport much quicker. And, if you walk outside of the airport, which is super easy, you also save money on Uber.
Thank you, Yana. The secret's out now about Burbank. People forget about that, but you're right. It is so much easier and so much quicker, and probably less traffic on top of it. So thank you for sharing your journey and how you have really traveled through to that entrepreneurship track, and also, emphasizing, I think you guys all have mentioned that diversity of the cohort and how that impacted your learning and your relationships, personal, professional, etc. going forward. As an alumni myself, I could not agree more with the impact that the program has made in sort of all parts of life. So thanks again. And now I would like to formally open it up to any questions that the audience has today. And feel free to also come onto camera, come off of mute if you'd like. And, if we don't have questions now, Shannon, is there anything else you want to add that I may have missed today, the panelists?
No, let's just hear the Q&A from anyone who's attending, and then we'll wrap it up with just talking a little bit about the deadlines and stuff coming up for applications.
Perfect. Well, I love all the travel tips, so thank you. I'm just thinking if I need to get up to the Bay Area, I better look into Alaska, go through Burbank, maybe consider 2 trips a month, right, Jay? With the pass. Yeah, and I also appreciate, Yana, you sharing sort of that transition during the pandemic and how, on the university side, they were really able to handle the, uncertainty, I think, of what was out there, and how that really kind of feeds into our mission in terms of like building that transformative leader, right? We're able to adjust and adapt as needed. So thank you for that. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions at this moment, let me double check. No, I want to thank you all so much for being on with us today. We so much appreciate you guys, and wish you all much success in your journeys. You've all done so much, I think, from the beginning of your journey, even to graduation. But I can't wait to hopefully catch up with you again in the next few months and have you back to another panel. Sheila, thank you so much. And hopefully we can share out, I think we did in the registration, your LinkedIn. We will share the recording with folks as they ask about Northern California and the students and alumni up there. So thanks again. Shannon, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. So if we want to just put back up, just thank you again to the alumni as well. Always love seeing you and hearing your stories and your updates. So we can just go into, just for any of you who are on that are thinking about applying, we actually have a workshop that we do specifically on applying, but I like to point out that there is not a requirement for the GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment. We actually have our own pre-MBA math course that if we see that your background does not include things like kind of, you haven't taken a math class, let's say, since, early on in college, then we feel that it's more beneficial for you to take our pre-MBA math class that specifically prepares you for the math in the MBA. We use many other factors to decide if you're a good fit for the program outside of just an exam score. If you are taking an exam, I know some of the Bay Area schools require exams. So if you are taking one and you worked hard, please submit it. We know how to look at that, but it's not going to be a key factor in our decision making. As far as transcripts, Vanessa's our resident. If you have any questions around transcripts, we do require official copies as well as you upload the unofficial. 2 essay questions. I always say don't overly stress the essays. We're using them to get to know you and can help walk you through those. We use your resume to understand your career progression and just understand your career journey, especially understanding your management responsibilities. So it's always good to highlight in that any management you've had, whether that's, again, people management, budget oversight, leading projects, things like that. We do ask for 2 recommendations. You upload their names into their names and contact information up into the application, and then we reach out to them with a short form for them to fill out. And then if you were educated outside the US, check with us to see if you do need a TOEFL or IELTS, since this is a graduate division requirement at the UCLA level. And then just moving into our deadline. So our application has been open for a while, but it is open all the way through pretty much May 1st. We're on a rolling admissions basis. I would say the advantage to applying sooner is just that you get to choose your section. The section preferences is based on when your application came in and when you enroll. And so just getting that in sooner than later. But I will tell you, if you need some time and you're still deciding, I think as long as you apply by, let's say, end of mid-April, you should be okay there, and we'll start processing your application. And then if you are interested in the UCLA US, it does have a little bit of an earlier deadline because it starts in May instead of in August. So get in touch with us as soon as possible if you're interested in that program. Any last questions from any of the prospective students on the call? Is there a possibility to have an early decision if you apply early? So yes, Aisha, if you do apply, as soon as you apply, we start processing your application. So we don't wait until like the round. So go ahead and apply. We'll get reviewing your application. And then if we're moving forward with you, send you an interview invite. And then we hope to usually try and get about an 8-week turnaround from the time you apply to getting you a decision, around 8 weeks. If there's need for sooner, then, we can talk on that and see what's possible. Oh, it looks like we do have the panelists still around. Sid, who I spoke to this morning, Sid, good to see you again. What was your favorite course and why?
I can jump in. I'll try to keep it brief. Mine was tech management with Professor Terry Kramer. You might hear that from a few other folks. You might also be a glutton for punishment if you decide to take it. It was fun. Meg's laughing because we were in the same class. It is the hardest class, if not learning experience I've probably had, but I would do it again in a heartbeat for that same reason. Professor Kramer teaches in the HBS style, which is a case method. And I think the skill set that you develop in terms of taking really, really large swaths of information, so 20+ page case studies, and needing to quickly distill them down into the most salient points to provide a strategic point of view is an invaluable one. You might get an ulcer in the process, but you're all in it together, and it is well worth it to come out strong on the other side. So highly recommend Professor Kramer's tech management class. And that's an elective.
Nice. Sheila, that's amazing choice. Kramer is phenomenal. I'm avoiding his lectures precisely because of that. Just kidding. I actually signed up. So one I would recommend for me is Professor John Ullman. I'm taking like his 3 classes now, or 2 or 3. I'm going to take more. The reason why I like him so much is because he tries to teach wisdom. He doesn't teach knowledge, he teaches wisdom. And it's really hard to do. It's like, how do you tell to a 20-year-old version of yourself, how you see life as a 40-year-old or as a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old. And he's the only person that I know in my life that was able to do that. Like when my parents tell me, Jay, do this, don't do that. Or when my grandpa tells me, I'm like, you don't understand, that makes sense. And Professor Ullman finds a way to communicate that with words, that wisdom. So it's also an elective.
I'll jump in with Professor Casey Holmes' Science of Happiness. I ended up taking that one, I think my last quarter or second to last quarter. And I think it kind of forced me to put everything into perspective and really kind of assess, like, why am I doing all of this? Like, what is the point of this? Like, there are classes that are kind of will get you to learn hard skills. And I think this was like, the class that kind of, especially pre-graduation, kind of put everything into perspective and I think helped me make the decisions that I did in terms of leaving the comforts of a large, company and, really embracing the goal for which I came to UCLA for.
Awesome. I'm happy to jump in. Mine, I'd say, was the IBR course, Social Entrepreneurship and Innovation with Gail Northrup. We went to Kigali, Rwanda as part of that immersion. And I appreciated the kind of prerequisite to the course in which we talked about a lot of the context, avoiding heropreneurship, what this community is. So I appreciated the thoughtfulness on, understanding this community and culture prior to the visit. And then the visit in and of itself was really life-changing, experiencing that culture, getting to meet with entrepreneurs. I've had some ongoing communications with a number of folks I met there, and I think it helped create a really meaningful framework around the things that I'm passionate about in a completely foreign context.
Okay, am I the last one? Actually, so kudos to Sheila, like definitely tech management, number one favorite class. I think this is the hardest one to get in and also the hardest one to get out. Even as alumni, I still want to audit this class again, just to revisit all the contents and Professor Primer has taught us in the class. So anything Jason Lee actually has is also very good. Jason has a real life experience in the PE and investment industry. That his class always give us a very practical way of seeing the investment and how to like see a company, how to analyze a company, even how to do the basic FP&A. So I learned so much from him. Also, anything global emergence that I highly recommend. With my personal time constraint, I couldn't go to more than just two, but at least for the two that I went to, one is in Australia, or the other one is in Singapore, I learned so much about the nation, the culture, and the industry there. I don't think I can get that in-depth of knowledge for the area just by myself if I, go with a family. So highly recommend.
Good question, Siddharth. You'll also find it's so funny, though, I have to say, you'll also, I think, in your first quarter or two, realize what your learning style is and the types of professors and environments that you prefer or don't prefer. I, funny enough, didn't really like Jay and Yana's favorite professors. They were not my style, but I know a lot of people that really love them. So I think as you get through different courses, you start to get a sense for different types of professors and how they lecture and what resonates with you and what doesn't, which is also really important.
You can take classes after graduation, to answer your question.
I'm actually currently auditing classes right now. So, yeah.
Oh, Meg, can you tell us how that worked or how many?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there are like two different kinds of classes that you can audit. Like one is just a traditional classes in the classroom, either it's through Zoom or it's on site. I think like 2 quarters ago, I audited one class with Jason Lee, and then I think this upcoming quarter, I'm going on campus for like 5 weekends to audit a class for BC. Because I'm a mom of two, like I just mentioned, I didn't have the time to do enough electives that I wanted, but so I like the opportunity that Anderson gave it to me that led me to do this like lifetime learning. Sorry, I didn't mention like there's another class which is like still the global immersion, which you can still get on trips with with Anderson students, even you graduated, to do like in-country study. I think every quarter or every several months, like they'll send you emails about like what are the options, and you can sign up to it and get on trip together.
Thank you. Sounds like I should go back and take Professor Kramer's class now too. But I'm going to use you all as my TAs.
We're all going to fail it anyway, but the curve just works out in your favor.
All right.
I think we can wrap. Well, thank you everyone again for joining, and we look forward to hearing from all prospects. And thank you again to the alumni. We always love hearing from you. Have a great day, everyone.